My name is Lauren Mitchell, and I'm 42 years old, living in a quiet suburban neighborhood just outside Portland, Oregon, where the air smells of pine and the streets are lined with maple trees that turn fiery red in the fall. It was a warm summer morning, the kind where sunlight spills through the kitchen window, casting golden patterns on the counter. I stood there, gripping a steaming mug of coffee, staring out at the backyard, and wondering when my life had become so predictable, so hollow. I'm a mother to Ryan, my 21-year-old son, who's navigating his way through community college, and I work as a freelance interior designer, creating beautiful spaces for other people, while my own world feels like it's fading into grayscale. I used to believe I had everything figured out, a cozy home, a steady career, a life that looked perfect on paper, but deep inside, there was a void, a restless ache I hadn't dared to name. Then, he walked into my life. Noah Carter, Ryan's best friend, 26 years old, a documentary filmmaker with eyes that seemed to see right through me, and a smile that made my heart skip a beat. The moment I caught him watching me in the garden, his gaze not just curious, but hungry, carrying an unspoken promise, I knew my world was about to tilt on its axis. I flashed a teasing smile, my voice dropping to a low, daring tone, and said, "Come inside if you got the guts." That was the spark that ignited a story I never imagined I'd have the courage to live, a tale woven with temptation, secrecy, and emotions I thought I'd locked away forever. It was a Saturday, about a week after Noah had moved into our house temporarily. His apartment in downtown Portland had suffered a major electrical failure, and Ryan, always the loyal friend, insisted Noah crash with us until it was fixed. That morning, Ryan had left early for a 3-day photography workshop in Seattle, leaving the house wrapped in an unfamiliar silence. I was out in the backyard, tending to my lavender bushes, wearing a faded gray t-shirt and denim shorts, my hair pulled into a messy bun, not giving a second thought to my appearance. I've never been one to seek attention. After my husband, Tom, passed away from cancer a decade ago, I'd built a life of simplicity, pouring my energy into raising Ryan and building my design business. Vanity wasn't part of the equation, but when I glanced up and saw Noah standing at the back door, cradling a coffee mug, his eyes fixed on me with an intensity that stopped me cold, a shiver ran down my spine. Noah didn't avert his gaze like most people would when caught staring. Instead, he held it, unapologetic, as if he were studying every detail, the way I gripped the garden hose, the way the morning light danced across my bare shoulders, the way my fingers brushed a stray strand of hair from my face. My cheeks burned, not from embarrassment, but from a rush of exhilaration I hadn't felt in years, maybe ever. I don't know what possessed me to say it. Maybe it was the thrill of being seen so fiercely, or maybe it was a reckless impulse to test the boundaries of this moment. "Come inside if you've got the guts," I said, my voice light, but edged with a challenge, daring him to make the next move. Noah blinked, his lips twitching into a half smile that was equal parts amusement and intrigue. He didn't respond, just gave a slight nod and turned back into the house, leaving me standing there, my heart hammering against my ribs, my mind racing with questions. What had I just done? Was I flirting? Was I out of my mind? I shook it off, telling myself it was just a playful remark, a fleeting moment of silliness. But deep down, I knew I'd cracked open a door I wasn't sure I could close. The days that followed were charged with a subtle electric tension that only I seemed to notice. To Ryan, life went on as usual. He shuffled between classes, hung out with friends at the local diner, and spent hours on his phone, oblivious to the undercurrent swirling around him. But for me, every interaction with Noah felt like stepping onto a tightrope. He was the perfect house guest, always polite, offering to help with chores, like washing dishes after dinner or tightening a loose hinge on the pantry door. But the moments when our hands accidentally brushed, passing a glass of water, reaching for the same fork on the counter, sent a jolt through me, leaving my skin tingling long after he'd walked away. I tried to bury myself in work, sketching floor plans for a client's lake house renovation, fielding calls about fabric swatches and lighting fixtures. But Noah's presence lingered. His eyes, those deep hazel eyes, seemed to follow me, not in a creepy way, but in a way that made me feel exposed, vulnerable in the garden, analyzing every word, every glance. Had I imagined the spark? Was I reading too much into a look? I was 42, for God's sake, not some starry-eyed teenager. Noah was Ryan's friend, practically a kid compared to me. Yet, there was something about his quiet confidence, his thoughtfulness, the way he seemed to see parts of me I'd forgotten existed. I told myself to snap out of it, to focus on being a good host, a good mother. But the truth was, I didn't want to snap out of it. For the first time in years, I felt awake. One evening, about a week after the garden incident, Ryan went out for dinner and a movie with his girlfriend, Emily, leaving the house to me and Noah. I was in the living room, curled up on the couch with the design magazine, pretending to read while my thoughts wandered. Noah emerged from the guest room, holding a bottle of sparkling water, and paused in the doorway. "You okay, Lauren?" he asked, his voice soft but carrying a weight that made me look up. "Yeah, just zoning out," I said, forcing a smile to hide the nervous flutter in my chest. He hesitated, then sat down in the armchair across from me. Not too close, but close enough that I could smell the faint cedar wood scent of his cologne. We started talking, and it was surprisingly easy. He told me about his latest documentary project, a series about small-town artisans, and how he loved capturing the stories people rarely noticed. The blacksmith who'd been forging tools for 50 years, the seamstress who embroidered memories into every quilt. I found myself opening up too, sharing things I hadn't talked about in years. I told him about my college days, when I dreamed of being a painter, spending hours in the art studio, lost in swirls of color and texture. I told him how I'd set those dreams aside after Tom's death, choosing stability over passion to give Ryan a secure life. Noah listened, really listened, his eyes never leaving mine, his expression free of judgment. When I trailed off, feeling self-conscious, he leaned forward slightly. "You don't seem like someone who gives up, Lauren," he said. "You're just waiting for the right time to pick up the brush again." His words landed like a stone in still water, sending ripples through me. For so long, I'd seen myself as a supporting character in my own life. Ryan's mom, Tom's widow, the reliable designer who made other people's homes beautiful. But Noah saw something else, something more. I felt exposed, but not in a bad way. I felt seen. That night, as he stood to head back to his room, I had to bite my tongue to keep from calling him back. Instead, I sat there, clutching the magazine, my pulse racing, knowing I was teetering on the edge of something I couldn't quite name. The next week, Ryan's schedule grew hectic with group projects and study sessions, leaving him out of the house more often than not. Noah and I settled into a strange, unspoken rhythm, like two people circling each other, aware of the pull, but unsure how to act on it. We weren't reckless. We didn't flirt openly or cross obvious lines, but every interaction carried a charge. One afternoon, I was in the kitchen, chopping vegetables for a stir-fry, when Noah wandered in, asking if I needed a hand. I handed him a cutting board and a pile of bell peppers, teasing, "Don't butcher my veggies, okay?" He grinned, a warm, disarming grin that made my stomach flip. We worked side by side, our elbows brushing as we moved around the cramped kitchen. I could feel the heat of his arm near mine, the faint rhythm of his breathing. Then, in a clumsy moment, our hands collided as we both reached for the same knife. Neither of us pulled back. The air stilled, and I looked up to find Noah staring at me, his eyes dark with something unspoken. "Lauren," he said, his voice low and steady, "I don't want to cross any lines, but I can't stop thinking about you. Every day, every moment I'm here, it's you." My breath caught. This was the moment to shut it down, to remind him he was Ryan's friend, that I was too old, that this was impossible. But the words wouldn't come. Instead, I whispered, "I can't stop thinking about you either." The space between us vanished. He leaned in, and I let myself fall into the kiss. It wasn't frantic or desperate. It was slow, deliberate, like we were both savoring something we knew might not last. His lips were warm, tasting faintly of mint, and for those few seconds, the world outside, I searched his eyes, seeing the same mix of longing and fear I felt. "We can't do this," I said, but my voice betrayed me, trembling with want. "I know," Noah replied, his thumb brushing my hand, "but I don't regret it." I didn't either. That night, we didn't go further. We sat on the couch, our fingers laced together, talking about nothing and everything, his favorite films, my love for jazz, the way the Oregon coast felt like a secret only a few people understood. Every word felt like a step deeper into a forbidden place, but I couldn't bring myself to turn back. In the days that followed, I existed in a strange duality. With Ryan, I was the same mom I'd always been, checking in on his studies, making his favorite lasagna, laughing at his terrible puns. But when he wasn't around, Noah and I became something else, a secret that pulsed with life. We didn't throw ourselves into some torrid affair. Our connection was quieter, built on stolen moments, a lingering glance across the dining table, a brush of fingers when handing over a coffee mug, a shared laugh over a silly meme he showed me on his phone. Each moment felt like a gift, a reminder that I was more than the roles I'd been playing for years. Noah made me feel vibrant, like I could still chase dreams, still feel the rush of possibility. But that joy was shadowed by guilt. I couldn't shake the fear of what would happen if Ryan found out. One evening, he came home earlier than expected from a study group, bursting through the front door, while Noah and I were in the living room watching a documentary. We weren't touching, weren't even sitting that close, but the air between us was thick with unspoken intimacy. Ryan didn't notice, just tossed his backpack on the floor and complained about a group project gone wrong before heading to his room. Noah and I exchanged a glance, and I saw it in his eyes, the same dread I felt. We were walking a dangerous line, and one misstep could shatter everything. That night, lying awake in bed, I tortured myself with questions. What was I doing? Noah wasn't some casual fling I could dismiss. He was kind, thoughtful, a man who saw me in ways I'd forgotten I could be seen. But he was also Ryan's best friend, practically family. Every time I pictured Ryan's face, his easy smile as he talked about his dreams of becoming a photojournalist, my chest tightened with shame. I wasn't just risking my own heart. I was risking my son's trust, his sense of home. Yet, even as I told myself to end it, I couldn't stop replaying Noah's words, his touch, the way he made me feel like I was waking up after years of sleepwalking. The tension built until it reached a breaking point one weekend when Ryan left for a 3-day leadership retreat in Seattle, part of a scholarship program. The house felt cavernous without him, and I promised myself I'd keep things platonic with Noah. But that Friday night, as I was rinsing dishes in the kitchen, Noah appeared, holding a bottle of Pinot Noir. "Care for a glass?" he asked, his voice casual, but his eyes searching. I should have said no. I should have sent him back to his room. Instead, I nodded, drying my hands on a dish towel. Sure, why not? We settled in the living room, the lights dimmed, a soft jazz playlist humming in the background. We talked for hours about his dream to film a documentary in Iceland, about my secret wish to open an art gallery someday, about the little moments that shaped us. The wine loosened my guard, and when Noah set his glass down and moved closer, I didn't pull away. He cupped my face, his thumb tracing my cheek, and kissed me. This time, it wasn't tentative. It was a release, a flood of everything we'd been holding back. We didn't stop at a kiss. In the quiet of that night, we let ourselves go, crossing a line we'd both known was there all along. It wasn't just physical, it was emotional, a connection that felt like it had been building for weeks, maybe longer. Lying beside him afterward, his arm draped over me, I felt a mix of euphoria and terror. "What are we doing, Noah?" I whispered, my voice barely audible. He squeezed my hand. "I don't know, Lauren, but I know it feels right." The next morning, I woke to sunlight streaming through the curtains and a heavy weight in my chest. Noah was still asleep, his face peaceful, and for a moment, I let myself imagine a world where this could be real, where we could be together without consequences. But reality crashed in. I pictured Ryan walking through the door, seeing us, his confusion turning to betrayal. I thought of the life I'd built, the trust I'd earned as his mother, and how quickly it could all unravel. I wasn't a reckless person. I wasn't someone who threw caution to the wind. Yet here I was, tangled in sheets, with a man who was not only too young for me, but also tied to my son in a way that made this feel like a betrayal. Next 2 days, even if Noah and I didn't repeat that night, but we didn't pull away either. We cooked breakfast together, watched old movies, sat on the back porch with coffee, our knees touching under the table. It wasn't constant affection. It was a careful dance, a mutual understanding that we were savoring something fleeting. But with every laugh, every shared glance, the guilt grew heavier. I started noticing things I hadn't before, the way Noah's smile faltered when Ryan's name came up, the way I flinched when my phone buzzed, fearing it was Ryan coming home early. We were living on borrowed time, and we both knew it. When Ryan returned on Sunday evening, I made my decision. I couldn't keep living this double life, pretending everything was fine while carrying a secret that could destroy my son's trust. Monday morning, while Ryan was still asleep, I asked Noah to meet me in the backyard. The lavender bushes were in full bloom, their scent heavy in the air, and I stood there, arms crossed, trying to steady my shaking hands. Noah approached, his expression wary, as if he sensed what was coming. "Noah," I said, my voice cracking, "we have to stop this." He didn't argue, didn't try to change my mind. He just nodded, his jaw tight, his eyes glistening with something I couldn't bear to name. "I don't regret a single moment, Lauren," he said quietly. "But I get it. I do." I swallowed hard, fighting the urge to reach for him. I explained that it wasn't because I didn't care. God, I cared more than I could put into words. But I couldn't live a life of lies, couldn't face the day Ryan might look at me and see a stranger instead of his mother. I told him I wasn't ashamed of what we'd shared, but I needed to choose a path that let me live in the open, not in the shadows. Noah listened, his hands stuffed in his pockets, his gaze fixed on the ground. When I finished, he looked up, his eyes locking with mine. "You're the most extraordinary woman I've ever known," he said, his voice steady, despite the emotion behind it. "Thank you for letting me be part of this, even for a little while." He reached out, his fingers brushing mine one last time, and then he turned and walked back inside. I stood there, rooted to the spot, feeling like I'd just lost something irreplaceable, but knowing I'd made the only choice I could. The next week was a blur. Noah moved out a few days later, telling Ryan his apartment was fixed. Ryan didn't suspect a thing. He hugged Noah goodbye, joking that I'd miss having an extra set of hands for chores. I forced a laugh, but inside I was breaking. The day Noah left, I stood at the front door, watching him load his bags into his car. We didn't say much, just exchanged a quiet nod, but his eyes held 1,000 unspoken words. As he drove away, I felt a piece of myself go with him, not because I regretted my decision, but because I knew I'd never feel that alive again. In the weeks that followed, I threw myself into work, redesigning a boutique hotel in downtown Portland, sketching late into the night to keep my mind busy. Ryan went on with his life, oblivious to the storm that had passed through mine. I didn't tell anyone about Noah, not my sister, not my best friend, not even my journal. It was too raw, too precious to share. But I carried it with me, a secret that wasn't shameful, but sacred, a reminder that I was capable of more than I'd let myself believe. Looking back, I see that Noah didn't just awaken my heart. He awakened me. He reminded me that I'm not just a mother, not just a widow, not just a designer. I'm a woman with dreams, with desires, with a fire that ain't gone out. I've started painting again, small canvases at first, bursts of color that feel like reclaiming a piece of myself. I don't know if I'll ever see Noah again, and maybe that's for the best. What we had wasn't meant to last forever. It was a chapter, a beautiful, fleeting one, that changed me in ways I'll carry forever. If you're watching this on the Cheater's Diary, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me, what would you have done in my shoes? Have you ever faced a moment where your heart pulled you one way and your responsibilities another? Let's start a conversation. And if this story resonated with you, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next raw, honest tale. Thank you for listening to my story, for being here with me. I'll see you in the next video.